All right, so we are at the University of Kansas here in Laurence at Pioneer Cemetery, and this is the oldest cemetery in the town, and it has a lot of people who were killed during Quantrill's raid. So we're gonna go check it out. This cemetery was originally known as Oread, and it was opened in 1854 by the New Englanders who founded Laurence. The largest number of early burials occurred following Quantrill's massacre at Laurence on August 21st, 1863, and most of these graves have been reinterred in Lawrence's Oak Hill Cemetery, but gravestones of 4 victims still remain, so we're going to go in and try to find them. Okay, let's go see what this cemetery holds. This cemetery fell into disuse in 1882, but in 1953, the Kansas University Endowment Association assumed ownership and reopened the cemetery in 1968. Now here's the first marker of someone who died, possibly in the Quantrill's raid, 1863. Dillard, age 73 years old. That was pretty old back then. Oh, there's more right here. Alfred Peake died February 7th, 1883, I believe that says, age 63. And Sarah was probably his wife. She died, I'm thinking, September 23rd, 1883 or 2. Oh, wow, look at this. That is broken. I love how they have preserved this and put them in the cement to keep them together and keep them from being vandalized or damaged anymore. Oh wow, this one's really old. You can't even read that. John Barry. He was a Mason, I believe. That's a Masonic symbol. Another one. His name is cut off, but they died February 5th, 1868 at 26 years old. And I'm getting a lot of the information about these people from the website Find a Grave, and I will leave a link in the description if you're interested. That is very fancy scroll work on that. This is dyed. It's so fancy, it's hard to read. There's another one. That's a dove. So I wonder if that was a baby or, yeah, it says aged 1 year down there at the bottom. That is sad. This one is, does it say Graham? I can't read. Martha. Louisa? Huh. But Louisa was 17 years old when she died in February of 1858. And there's the hands being held. This one's really clear. You can definitely see a man and a woman, the male hand and the female hand, and they're holding hands, so they will be reunited in death. What else do we have to see here? I love looking at old tombstones. I hope you guys do too. I find them fascinating. Oh, this one is really pretty. Look at that tree. I don't know what kind of tree that is. Maybe a palm tree. That's Frances. I'm going to say Bloomton. Died May 1st, 1858. She was 20 years old. Wow. Oh, and here's another one with that same tree, and this one looks like it's John Blayton, Blanton. That's who these people are, the Blaytons. And he was 16 years old when he died in April of 1858. Wow, I wonder if they were brother and sister and they died like weeks apart. I wonder what that was about. I wonder if there was some sort of disease that was going on. So that's pretty cool. That looks like an archway with curtains and then a Bible in the middle of it. I've never seen anything like that before. That's very interesting. I wonder if there's any bodies buried over here, or if there were any. Let's go check out this. It looks pretty important. It's got a bench in front of it. This is Thomas Washington Barber, and he was born in February of 1814 in Pennsylvania. And Thomas was shot and killed by pro-slavery parties on December 6, 1855, on a road 4 miles southwest of Laurence. And that was during the Wakarusa War. And the Wakarusa War was an armed standoff that took place in the Kansas Territory during November and December of 1855. And it was the first instance of violence during the Bleeding Kansas conflict between anti-slavery and pro-slavery factions in the region. Barber's body was then taken to Laurence, where he became an instant martyr, and he was memorialized in John Greenleaf Whitter's poem, The Burial of Barber, which became an anti-slavery call to arms. And I will put the entire poem in the description if you are interested in reading it. And we usually find pretty good stories behind some of these tombstones. Look at this one. This one is very interesting too. Let's see, it's hard to tell. Gosh, the name is just obliterated, but we have the palm tree, again, the tree up top. And this person was born November 18th, 1829, died October 9th, 1857. Let's see what's over here. There's just all kinds of stuff. That looks interesting over there. Okay, well, let's look at this white. Okay, oh wow, look at this. David C. Buffum, born at Salem, Massachusetts, November 11th, 1822, died near Laurence, Kansas, September 12th, 1856. His death, although a great loss to his friends and the community, has been a great gain to the cause of freedom. He was devoted to the cause for which he suffered, his last words being, "I am willing to die for the cause of freedom in Kansas." So he was tending farm one day when Charles Hayes and the Kickapoo Rangers, they were a pro-slavery group, encountered him and tried to steal his horse, and they shot and killed him. And this is not his original tombstone. That was removed and is currently located at the Kansas Museum of History in Topeka, Kansas. All right, what we got here? Chester Hay. He was 28 years old. That is very pretty. And a lot of people lost their lives during Quantrill's raid. 180 men and boys, I believe, were killed when Quantrill, and I think about 400 pro-slavery men with him. All right, what do we have here? Okay. Well, this is very interesting. At first I thought this was a bed, like a wrought iron bed, but it's not. It's just a really cool fence. So this is Carl Rue. I think I'm saying that right. And look, his tombstone is in German. That is very interesting. Okay, this tells us all about him. He was born May 22nd. That's my birthday. He was born May 22nd, 1827, and he died November 4th, 1855. So this is Alonzo, son of William and E. Duncan, and he died July 14th, 1857, aged 2 years, 2 months, and 7 days. Francis M. And this is the hand pointing up to heaven. That is something else that we see a lot here on tombstones in Kansas and Missouri during this period. And she died on August 12th, 1864. She was 32 years old. Another one, 25 years old. And here's 18 years old. You know, one of the things that I find kind of striking when I come to these cemeteries is the amount of children and young people that I find graves for. Life expectancy back then wasn't like it is today, and I'm not really sure what you would consider old age, but I've seen some that are in their 70s. I imagine that people thought they were just decrepitly ancient. There are just graves everywhere around here. Who is this? Somebody, John Baldwin. He was 28 years old when he died in 1863. So, yeah, so this would be someone who died in Quantrill's raid. And it's really sad because the people who settled Laurence were from New England. They were part of the Immigrant Aid Society. And they all came up here to Laurence because Kansas was open as a territory, and the United States government was going to let people here in Kansas decide whether this would be a free state or a slave state. And so a lot of people from up north, abolitionists, they just came pouring into this area, and especially Laurence. This was their stronghold. And that didn't sit very well with the people in Missouri, which is not very far from here. Missouri was pro-slavery, and it caused a big problem. There were lots of raids, lots of battles, lots of murders. And really, the Civil War started here in this area of Kansas, in Laurence, and on south down to Osawatomie and Paola and Mound City, down to Fort Scott. There's a lot of history here. So this will not be our last visit up here to Laurence. I can tell you that right now, because there's too much up here. It's going to be numerous videos. Okay, let's go see what else we can see. My feet. My feet are soaking wet. This is George Sullen. These tombstones, while they are being preserved now, they weren't in the past, and they are broken, and some of them are broken to the point where I can't read them. But this poor guy, he died on June 23rd, 1859 at age 18 years, far from home. Oh, I'm sorry, George. That must have been horrible for your mother. Just a broken tombstone. Here's another one. Oh, and here's one at the base of the tree. What came first? The tree or the tombstone? Oh yeah, so here we have military graves. So over here are 18 military headstones, and those are graves of members of the 13th Wisconsin Volunteer Infantry who died of typhoid in 1862. Now, typhoid was another major killer. This disease was a result of contaminated water or food, and typhoid killed around 30,000 Confederate and 35,000 Union troops during the war. 1 out of every 3 people who contracted this disease died of it. As a matter of fact, more soldiers died of disease than they did actual combat. This is to the unknown dead Union soldiers of the Civil War. This is Walter, son of C. and L.K. Griswold. He was born on October 18th, 1845, and he died in the memorial morning, August 21st, 1863. So yeah, this is another one that died during Quantrill's raid. Well, it looks like we're getting kind of to the end of the cemetery. There's a few more. There's this one right here. Lydia. She died October 13th, 1864. Okay. And as you can see, it's still being used. And there's a lot of, this is now for the faculty and staff over here at KU. And you can see there's a lot of Jayhawks on these tombstones. Very cool. Pioneer Cemetery, Laurence, Kansas. However, I think we need to go and look at this right here. What is this? And I know these don't look like normal sunflowers that you think of, but these are still sunflowers. Well, that is Pioneer Cemetery, and I hope you enjoyed yourself. I did. I love coming to these cemeteries because I learn a lot. I learn a lot about individual people instead of just great big events. And that is what I really, really find interesting. I like the big events, but it's the people who make them interesting. And this is where you find them.